Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm going to talk about this interesting project and some tooling around it would make it all possible. Yeah, so the talk is called 5 Years Later, Still on Time. And this is a journey from Drupal 8 to Drupal 11 for mentalhealthonline.org.au. Just a little bit about myself, 16 years on Drupal, doing Drupal and DevOps. Really advocating for open source and founder of my own lean digital agency called DevOps. I'm not sure if you can see this QR code, or I hope you could. I'm not sure. I'm not going to touch it now, but you could follow this presentation through that QR code. So, about the project, in 2018, Media Insights joined forces with DevOps to build mental health and research platform for Swinburne University in Melbourne. The whole build took about 6 months in 2018, and it was launched in 2023. And since then, it's been like live and still been in the process of upgrades to Drupal 11. We had several iterations during that time, during those 5 years, based on the feedback from closed user groups. And that feedback was very valuable. And we did have real users using the platform, but it just wasn't kind of fully open to the public. The interesting part is that it was not just a CMS. It was a platform for the actual researchers. It has these tools for researchers where they have therapists and clients where they could be assigned to control groups, and then with like blind and random assignment where therapists wouldn't know who the clients are, or clients wouldn't know who the therapists are, like real names. So we had to deal with fake names and stuff there just to facilitate these studies that the university was conducting. There's also like things like private and group messaging, where you would have like something like a forum or a person-to-person message where we had to deal with encrypted messaging and other things to hide people's identity. There were client tools, client as in a person being with a mental health issues. They would do interactive exercises or progress tracking or the self-assessment. So basically it was something that would allow them to help themselves or assess their own state, like state of mind when dealing with the mental health issues. And then reporting and analytics was super important here, because the therapists and people who were conducting the study, they really needed to know how the clients behave and how the therapists behave and how this all fits together for these research purposes. I hope it makes sense. Like the platform is like, it's a research platform. It's not just it's not just a site where we have content, but it also has all these quite complex interactions that needs to be actually working. And the challenges that we here is, if things don't work, we could expose people's private personal data. And with mental health, is quite important. It's not, because people will be sharing their own life stories and other things. So it has to be super secure and encrypted and I would say anonymous in some parts. So within the challenge here was that 6 months to build, and we go live, but then we couldn't, because of the business had issues, not issues, but they would have either researchers not available, or the research was postponed, or while the technology was there, like we built the site, but we couldn't actually make it go live. So it had to be like sitting on the back burner and waiting for things to be ready. So we have to keep maintaining secure and feature complete production ready platform capable of going live basically instantly, meaning that if they do say, oh, yeah, we want to conduct this research tomorrow, we need to put it online and just have it going. So you can imagine this having something that sits like in a bucket, but it has to be workable all the time. Yeah, so the upgrade there was that the actual normal challenges of any kind of upgrade you would see, especially on the projects that run in multiple years, is you have PHP version upgrade, Drupal core upgrade, contribs upgrades. All of those, they come with their own perks and caveats, and in our case, we had a limited budget to make those updates, for development actually activities, and then for QA resources as well, because every time we needed to do this update, we would need to go and do QA on that. The project didn't have much budget for that. The platform itself was required, it had a high level of security and user anonymity, encrypted web forms, and messaging between the users, role-based permissions across roles workflows where different roles could do different actions on the side, and they could do some of them, but not all of them. So it has to be the permission system has to be very robust. And continuous auditing for compliance and stability. I think I mentioned that before. Had to need to know what's happening on the side. Basically, if someone does something weird or strange, it has to be logged. So basically, things like audit logging, and I think it's called admin log module or something, that was responsible for logging basically all the users' actions on the site. Just a technical part. So we had a Drupal 8 that went 9 to 10 and now to 11. About 150 modules, so it's quite a complex site. Custom-based custom theme based on the Barrio, which is Bootstrap. PHP 7.4 went to 8.0, 1, and 0.2. So 8.1, 8.2, and now 8.3. We have Solid Search, ClamAV, PDF printing, high charts. Currently hosted on Acquia Cloud. And Docker CI and tooling stack based on the Vortex template, something I'm going to talk about a bit later. What made it all possible? I'm actually going to talk about just only 4 things today. We had Behat for test coverage, and then CI pipelines to actually test things. We used Rector for progressive refactoring and modernization of the code bases, and the Renovate to keep dependencies automatically updated. Again, keeping this in mind, I'm going to go through each of them now, but keeping in mind that this whole project now has to be using a very little budget on QA and the actual maintenance. So the tooling here should be kind of helping out a lot. I don't know how many of you know what Behat is, but this is the testing framework we use on this project, written in PHP. I don't know if you can see here, but it's a plain language, so plain English basically steps, which describe the behavior that the user would take. There is different discussions about this, whether it's useful or not on the project. For example, some people use Cypress or Playwright or PHP Unit to write things, to write the tests. In this case, we use the Behat for behavioral-driven testing, meaning that we could capture what the user actually would do on the page, and you can actually read how this works. So even here, just a simple example, like a contact form, anyone can read it. And sometimes, not for this project, for the other project, sometimes business even want to know what kind of test coverage we have. And you can just send them this to them, and they can read it and say, oh yeah, we understand this now. So it doesn't have to be, it's not a lot of code, PHP code, it's just plain English here. Also, so why Behat is cool, it's quite fast. When you deal with complex test coverage, for example, you need to create 20 articles to test some sort of pagination. If you would do it with things like Cypress or Playwright, you may need to do it through UI, although there's like Drush Drush adapters available, but Behat has direct access to the Drupal core. So anytime you need to prepare a test, you can do it very fast. I hope that makes sense, what I just said. So it's basically, you can think about it as you would run a piece of code to provision whatever content you need to prepare for your test. And then JavaScript is supported as well. So you can just write things and in the same way as you would write non-JavaScript functionality and just goes and clicks things. You just need to add a JavaScript tag, and which it's not here. But if you add JavaScript, then it would start a headless browser and start clicking on the buttons and do whatever needs to be done. On this specific side, we had 260 scenarios, so they're quite large. So they'll just be like doing login and do something on behalf of this user or that user. There's this permission or that permission, checks and checks. So 260 scenarios with about 3,000 steps. So you can think of steps as a single check of that something is happening. And the cool part about this is this would run on every commit, on every change in CI. That means, like, I don't know what kind of a superhuman would be able to do it manually, but like this actually shows that the 3,000 steps could be run on every change every time. It takes about 20 minutes. It's quite an efficient way of making sure that everything is working. And as a part of this, a Behat steps library was born. It's now version 3 now. Has a lot of steps predefined, which means that you can put it on your site, and even right now with AI, you can plug in AI and it will generate those tests for you very easily. I'll just leave it here with this. The CI pipelines. So use the GitHub Actions here. Just quickly going to talk about the fact that GitHub Actions uses cloud-hosted runners, or if you want, you can use your own runners. A runner is a place where you have like an environment set up for your site, and basically sites being imported, and then the tests are running there. So GitHub Actions allow you to have those in the cloud. That means that you don't have to have any infrastructure to maintain. And it has the reusable workflows, which means that someone else would write some sort of pieces of or steps of the CI, and they call GitHub Actions steps or workflows, and you can reuse those. And you can reuse those, and someone else can maintain this for you, and all you have to do is just specify the version. And for those of you who have used GitHub Actions, you probably have seen it usually be in like a YAML file that says uses and then the name of the action, like checkout or upload or something like that. So those are reusable workflows. And then automatic feedback. Anytime a CI pipeline fails, GitHub just receive the status check. For these kind of sites, you would have like 3-4 status checks for coding standards, for tests, and like deployment. GitHub Actions is good with this automatic feedback because it's all integrated. So GitHub is your hosting provider, is your code repository, and GitHub Actions is your CI, and they talk to each other. Yeah, I actually mentioned some of these. So we have on this project, for every change we do, we would just push it all up to a GitHub. GitHub Actions would trigger the build, and the build will import the whole database from the production, set up the site, and run the tests. And that was really cool because that would work in automation. With things that I'm about to tell you now, it all kind of plays together very nicely. Just another thing that was used in the project was Rector. And Rector is the CLI tool. I'm not sure if you guys heard of Rector, but there is the PHP CS, which is PHP Code Sniffer, is something that we use for coding standards. PHP Stan is something that we use for static analysis, for basically to make sure that the types are correct and other things are correct. And then Rector is something we use to do code upgrades and enforce some of the coding standards. They are more code styles. Yes, so these rules and rule sets are maintained by the community and by the rector himself. There is a special package for Drupal integration for rector. That means that it actually makes rector to be Drupal aware. It makes rector to know that there is like modules available and core and how it all ties together. I think it's maintained by, sorry, I don't remember by who, but yeah, it's maintained by the community. Yes, so you would run a rector in the command line once, or every time basically you want to do upgrade, it will check, it will run the rules and rule set and get your code and update it. Basically just make a change. Or you can plug it into CI if you want these checks to be enforced every time someone submits a pull request. It's a good thing to run it in CI because what it can do, it basically just talks, like it makes the code style and quality to be the same across all the pull requests and basically across your whole team. And this is what we've used on this project. So the way it was set up, because if you remember, I'm talking about 5 years of maintenance was like almost no touching things. It would run 1 or 2 times a month and to automatically update the code base. And then the updated code base would run CI that we had, and with the behat tests and PHP unit tests would run, and if everything was fine, it will auto-merge. So this is your almost like continuous delivery pipeline. However, sometimes rector would become a little bit too prescriptive, and just if for sometimes it wanted to make too many changes. In those cases, we would revert back and just put an exclusion and say, hey, don't do it too much, don't do too many refactoring. But yeah, this is like autopilot kind of thing. And the last one I'm going to talk about is this Renovate. Renovate is automated dependency update tool. It scans your code base and opens pull requests if new versions were found. Some of you may know Dependabot. So Dependabot is, I think it's Microsoft product, which actually inbuilt in GitHub. But Renovate is a non-Microsoft, it's a different product. But I'm using this on all my projects. I think it's more feature-rich than Dependabot. Basically, it's a single tool to handle updates across multiple languages. So it has a configuration file where you could specify the rules and matchers and like what and how it would handle specific versions and for different types of languages and frameworks. And it knows about PHP, Node.js, Docker, GitHub Actions, and many, many more. You can group those updates together, and you can set them to be run on schedule. An example would be to run core, to make it run core checks for core updates twice a day. So if something critical happens, it would raise a pull request within like 12 hours, right? And for contrib updates, you would have once a week. It would go and check for contribs, raise a pull request with all the updates. And because you already have behat tests and PHP unit tests, everything would run in CI, and you would just have to come back to your pull request, see everything's green, and press the merge button. And basically, that's what we did here. So it would make all the updates happen automatically. Yeah. How often there? Yep. So these PRs were grouped, meaning and they actually auto updated themselves as well. What that means was, if you have a PR raised when there is an update, and if there is a second module update happens, it will like rewrite that PR with now second update module. So it will be doing that up until you actually merge it, right? And if you want to lock it, you can lock it. There is a web mechanism to lock it, and all of that happens in GitHub UI, so you can do that. Was that the question? Yeah. So well, we had to do this whole thing. So this was on auto merge, as in when it runs 4 contribs every week, and if there is if pipeline is green, it will just auto merge. So if you're asking about success rate of that, I would say 60%. So in 60% of cases, it was successfully making updates and renovating and doing whatever it needs to do. In about 40% of cases, you would have to do manual intervention, where we would have to look at things. But that would be because there is for this site, 150 modules, you would have so many patches, and you would have to re-roll the patch. And I'm going to talk about that actually in a moment. There is a way to automate that as well. So that's a renovate thing. How does the future look like? Now, I'm actually going to talk about a couple of more things. I know a little bit out of time, but the next thing we're going to do is move from Acquia to Lagoon for advanced container-based hosting features. Kudos to Lagoon, Ben here from Lagoon. Lagoon supports customized application or part of application. For example, in our case, we want to be able to use Gutenberg, which is a Go PDF printer. So we want to run that side by side. Unfortunately, Acquia does not allow to have that to happen, so we would have to, with Acquia, set up an AWS or something just to host that one small application. With Lagoon, we can have it. So you just deploy it right next to your LAMP stack in a separate container, and it just works. Actually, Matomo, that Vladimir was talking about, is another thing we're going to do, which is, again, you can wrap it up into a simple container, deploy it, sitting right next to your Drupal, and it's all kind of scalable and copy. You can copy it between environments. So you take not just a Drupal between the environments, but everything that you need can be just coded in and configured as Docker containers and copied between environments. That's why we're actually going to move to Lagoon. Visual regression. Margie was talking about backstop, but there is a commercial product called Diffy, Diffy.website. I've been using it actually for a while, just not for this project. It is based on backstop as well. For those of you who haven't seen what Margie was talking about, it allows you to compare several environments and do visual regression between them and find any inconsistencies. Very useful tool in general whenever you do releases. So when you do release, let's say you have a 2-week sprint, you've developed some functionality, you want to make sure that whatever you're going to deploy does not actually bring any regression issues into the site. So you would compare production to staging, run this tool, and it would show you the differences. So that's actually I was going to show you that. Yep, thank you. Yep, I'll just go here. And the last part is AI instructions from Vortex to speed up development. I'm going to touch on Vortex in a second, but Vortex is a Drupal project template, but it includes built-in instructions for AI agents, explaining how the project is set up, how it structures, which technologies it uses, which commands to run. So basically, it enables AI tools to understand the project context and automate repetitive tasks, meaning that you drop in basically this markdown file with a lot of information, and you can now tell to, I'm using Claude, tell to Claude, create this and create that. By having access to this context file, instructions file, basically, it would know how to deal with the stack and, how to create things. For example, one of the things that it has is how to reroll the patches. So essentially, it would know that it needs to get the source of the module, try to reroll the patch and deal with that. So it's all kind of written in this markdown file that comes with Vortex. So I'm going to talk about lessons learned quickly. Continuous upgrades cost less than rebuild. So about 4 hours per month. If we would do it across 5 years, 240 hours, of development time versus about 1,000 hours of development time if we to redevelop it from scratch, once or twice for the duration of these 5 years, and about 500 to 600 hours of project management, client involvement. Even if development hours is okay, maybe, but the problem is usually with client time. Clients don't have time to do this stuff. They just want to participate once, get it built, and then have something. They don't want to come back to it over and over again. Test coverage is long-term insurance. So behavioral-driven tests, they focus on what users do, not how the code works. So unlike PHP unit, which I respect and love and use, but that would be very kind of coupled with the actual framework that you're using and other things. Like with Behat, it's a bit separate, and it runs. It runs. You could actually update your Drupal version, but your Behat version may stay the same, and that kind of decouples them. And that's why in this specific project, those 3,000 steps and 260 scenarios that we use for tests, that actually they have worked and they have picked up many things during these upgrades. And this is how we were able to see that things are actually working really well while doing these upgrades. In continuous integration, it's safety for innovation. I don't know how many of you guys using continuous integration, but it's really cool to have the environment which you can break, or developers know that they can break easily, as in you write the code, you push it up, you know that will be a site stand up within that ephemeral environment within the continuous integration. You can break things, you can test things, you can SSH into that, and you can do whatever you need to do. And if you broke it, it's easy, just throw it away. So from that point, continuous integration is really good and allows you to do this innovation stuff. And last but not least, when next week turns into next year, well, even if we sometimes try to do everything, not sometimes, most of the times try to do everything right and on time, and we try to do our best, well, some things are out of the control. So shifts in the schedules and pauses and delays are just as normal as builds and other parts of the development cycle. So just have to hang there and do it. Everything I talked about is actually resulted in vortextemplate.com. I had another talk about this in February. So this talk right now is a use case of how this Vortex template was used. I'm welcoming everyone. Join that community and go there. And so this is Drupal project template with all this tooling set up, and there's a documentation available there. Welcome. And if you have any questions, I'll be around here. Let's speak and talk. And my goal with the community is to actually make it easy for everyone to use all this tooling and stuff. So thank you. Any questions? No questions? Oh, that's because they were not ready. There was something always because it is a complex system. So they would have test groups. So we would have internal live, call it beta, closed beta kind of thing. But that closed beta was constantly moved, and they would provide feedback, and we have to iterate on that. So we were not only upgrading stuff, but we also would be adding features as well. So that's right. Yeah. So the site is there for 2 years now, and we're doing Drupal 11 and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.